Next News, breaking news.
What if the biggest story in Washington is not a bill, not a hearing, not another media-fed outrage cycle, but a direct visual rebuke of everything Americans were told to accept? For years, the people running this city acted like decay was normal, graffiti was normal, encampments were normal, dead fountains, damaged monuments, and public spaces that looked abandoned were just the price of modern life. And President Trump is proving that was all a lie. And now the White House is turning restored parks, repaired memorials, and revived public spaces into a blunt political argument that the left cannot answer. And the question is simple. If decline was a choice, who chose it? You see, this matters far beyond Washington, D.C., because the nation's capital is supposed to reflect the strength, dignity, and confidence of the United States of America. When tourists arrive in the capital and see disorder, neglect, vandalism, and monuments falling apart, they're not just seeing maintenance failures. They're seeing the result of an ideology that tolerated collapse and called it compassion, tolerated ugliness and called it equity, tolerated disorder and called it progress. And that is exactly why the Trump administration's message is so powerful, because decline was not inevitable. And according to the White House, in just 14 months, more than 500 instances of graffiti were cleaned up. 153 homeless encampments were removed. 22 fountains were restored. 28 statues were repaired and cleaned, added potholes fixed, debris hauled out of parks and ponds, benches installed, lights repaired, and suddenly the argument becomes unavoidable. Government can restore order when it actually wants to. And that exposes the failed choices made by the previous administration and the Democrat machine that normalized decay. Now, before we go further, if you care about restoring strength in every part of life, this message is worth hearing, because I've tried hundreds of supplements over the years. Nothing, and I mean nothing, has delivered results like C60 Evo. See, this Nobel Prize winning molecule, it actually made lab animals live 90% longer. I take 2 teaspoons of this every single morning. My brain fog gone. Joint pain I've had for years virtually eliminated. My wife's skin looks 10 years younger. My energy levels feel like I'm 20 years younger. Now, take note of this, because this molecule is 172 times more powerful than vitamin C. And it's even worth more than gold per ounce. The scientist behind it, Chris Burris, has been making this in his Houston lab since 1991. Now, let's be clear, this is not just another antioxidant. Okay, it works at the cellular level where aging actually happens. The Paris study, it showed longest life extension in history. And now my family is living proof that it works. There's a link down in the description. Visit c60evo.com/NNN and use code NNN for exclusive savings. Whether you want more energy, clearer thinking, better skin, or just to feel young again, this is your answer. c60evo.com/NNN. Use code NNN at checkout, because 90% longer life starts with one decision. Don't wait. Transform your health today, and you won't regret it. And that brings us right back to a story about what happens when leadership stops managing decline and starts reversing it. See, here's the part that makes this bigger than a cleanup project. The administration is not merely fixing broken things. It's building a visual case for national renewal ahead of America's 250th birthday. That's why the Lincoln Memorial story, why it matters so much. It's not just about a repair crew or a leaking surface. It is about choosing one of the most iconic places in America and saying out loud that this country should look proud again. And once you see the hidden story beneath that monument, the whole message makes sense. So many posts here to go through. It feels good to see people in our capital city enjoying their parks again. Turns out all it took to bring the community back out was cleaning things up and turning the fountains back on. This is just one of the videos posted of the beautiful fountains now functioning again in Washington, D.C. People out enjoying them again as they were intended. Like I said, when tourists visit our nation, they get out of Union Station and they see the decay, they see the decline. That's the message that is sent right to that tourist that these Americans don't really care. But we do care. We do have national pride. President Trump has national pride. And that's exactly what bringing all these monuments and fountains and beauty, bringing it back to life and restoring that national pride. So we don't look like a joke when the tourist gets off that train. I mean, look at these beautiful visuals. I mean, that is all because of President Trump. So what you just saw blows up the media favorite DC narrative on decline. Clean it up, turn the fountains back on, the families come right back out. Now, One American News puts real numbers on Trump's cleanup push. 22 fountains restored, 28 statues repaired, and hundreds of graffiti hits erased. A Daily Caller article released on Monday detailed some of the extensive work that's being done in D.C. since the president launched the Make D.C. Safe and Beautiful Again task force in March of last year. Check this out.
Beauty of the nation's capital city. A Daily Caller article released Monday detailed some of the extensive work that's being done to Washington, D.C. since the president launched the Make D.C. Safe and Beautiful Again task force in March of last year. In just 14 months, 22 fountains and 28 statues were repaired and restored. 500 instances of graffiti were removed, 150 potholes fixed, and 250 truckloads of debris have been extracted from ponds and parks. The task force also fixed and installed nearly 1,200 benches and 1,700 lights in addition to erecting 6 new statues. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum said decline is a choice and that no president has done as much for the safety and beauty of America's capital as President Trump.
You know, I see those fountains, I see the sprinklers going off in the White House lawn, and I'm reminded of when I brought my family to the White House. And my own children did news reports from the briefing room. My youngest son didn't want to do the news report. He was too captivated by the sprinkler system at the White House. And he was playing in the puddles there. And my wife and I were just watching the innocence of a young child just playing in the puddles at the White House in the middle of some of the most historic moments in American history. Just the pureness of that water, the same as the pureness of the water in those fountains, flowing again in D.C. So this isn't just cosmetic, it's a full-scale restoration after years of swamp neglect. Emily Miller goes inside one of the biggest fixes yet. The Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool repair crews say will finally stop the leaking. So here's an update on what's going on with the reflecting pool, which President Trump has stated will be done in just a few weeks. It will be American flag blue and just in time for the celebration of America 250.
Oh, hey, everyone's saying I should ask you all my questions.
Okay, ask away.
Sitting here standing on an expansion joint.
Slab right here has a lip like this that slides under with this one, and this one has the reverse.
Yeah, I can explain back and forth.
Gotcha. Best day ever of my life.
Exclusive reflecting pool news. Emily Miller, inside Trump's repairs at Cruz, say will finally stop the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool from leaking through the gaps. Yeah, Barack Obama tried to fix it, and as soon as Barack Obama finished, the swamp reclaimed its place. The mold and the algae all just came roaring back to the Lincoln Reflecting Pool. President Trump fixing it the right way. The leaking pool fix shows this operation goes much deeper than a fresh coat of paint. The White House laying out the scorecard from graffiti removal to cleared encampments. to a capital that's being made safe and beautiful again. In just 14 months, POTUS has restored our nation's capital, making it safe and beautiful. Decline was a choice, the White House says, not anymore. 500 instances of graffiti cleaned, 153 homeless encampments removed, 22 fountains restored, 28 statues cleaned, and more. Making D.C. beautiful again. That's the message from the White House. Decline was a choice. Next, we go beneath the Lincoln Memorial itself, where a long-hidden undercroft is finally opening to the public after years of restoration and renewed focus on honoring American history. The undercroft beneath the Lincoln Memorial and its fascinating story that's suddenly in the news because the public can finally see it. The Lincoln Memorial sits on what used to be a swampy, marshy land, the Potomac Flats, that was reclaimed from the river through dredging and filling. When construction started in 1914, engineers knew the soft soil couldn't support the massive marble structure and the huge statue of Lincoln without it sinking. The solution was to excavate down roughly 40 to 50 feet, install about 120 to 122 massive concrete pillars, sometimes called piers or piles. They were driven all the way down to solid bedrock, and the pillars support the entire weight of the memorial above. The huge open space they created underneath, a cavernous, roughly 50,000 square foot structural chamber, nearly twice the size of the memorial itself, is called the undercroft. For 100 years, the space stayed hidden from the public, basically a giant concrete forest of towering pillars holding everything up, with some original construction graffiti still visible on them, even stalactites from water seeping through over time. The National Park Service has turned part of it, about 15,000 square feet, into a new museum and exhibit space. You can now walk in and see the actual massive concrete supports that were put in because of the swampy ground, along with interactive exhibits about the engineering challenges, the memorial's construction, and its powerful role in American history. Check this out. This is remarkable, guys.
Call Washington a swamp is a metaphor, but also the literal truth. So when planning began for the Lincoln Memorial in the early 1910s, builders faced a real sinking problem. Their solution led to one of Washington's best-kept secrets, until now.
We are underneath the Lincoln Memorial right here, standing with these 120 massive concrete pillars. They go 50 feet in the ground, down into the swamp, down to the bedrock, to actually support the enormous weight. This is all reclaimed land.
Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum took us through what's known as the memorial's undercroft, a term usually reserved for the vaulted basement of a medieval castle or cathedral.
Above us is Lincoln sitting in his reflective pose.
At 50,000 square feet, the undercroft is so massive it's almost twice the size of the memorial above. For years, Hollywood's imagined a secret underground to the memorial. And the undercroft really is one.
These are stalactites, aren't? Oh, I just got dripped on.
Yes, they're still active, they're still dripping. And of course, as the rainwater comes through cracks in the granite, it seeps down here, picks up calcium.
Visitors will see it for themselves starting this June in a new museum hanging directly beneath the memorial.
I thought it'd be a good idea is to have more of an educational role for the Lincoln Memorial.
Philanthropist David Rubenstein helped bring the undercroft out of the shadows, donating a quarter of the $69 million needed for its transformation.
You can't really be a great country if you don't really honor your history and understand your history.
He hopes it expands our understanding of Lincoln, whose own life wasn't as grand as the marble above suggests.
He had a very complicated life, had a lot of tragedy in his life. A lot of his children died before they were very old, and had a very complicated marriage as well. But in the end, he rose up to the occasion and became, I think, our greatest president.
Some of the exhibits will also be about the memorial itself.
You know, I think it's still about freedom, hope, and today it's about inclusion.
You know what's interesting? They bring up Mary Todd Lincoln, the marriage between Abraham Lincoln and his wife. And not very far from where I am sitting is where Mary Todd Lincoln was once held in an asylum in her final days in Illinois. I'm reminded of that history every time I drive by the place. So History is all over this great nation, and President Trump is letting it known. But the real punch here is the symbolism. Americans can now see crowds enjoying cleaner parks, restored fountains again, but the Lincoln Memorial adds something deeper. Beneath that monument is the massive undercroft, the hidden structural world of giant concrete supports sunk deep into the old swamp ground to hold up one of the country's most sacred sites. For more than a century, people saw that monument without seeing the foundation beneath it, and that's really the metaphor. The Trump administration is saying renewal is not just cosmetic. You repair the physical beauty, yes, but you also repair what supports the nation underneath. Order, safety, civic pride, memory, and respect for American greatness. And that is why this story lands. It turns restoration itself into an America First argument. So as the country marches towards its 250th anniversary, pay very close attention to what the Trump administration is doing in Washington. These are not random repairs. They are connected pieces of a larger mission. Make America's capital worthy of the American people again. Clean monuments matter. Working fountains matter. Safer parks matter. Beautiful public spaces, they all matter. They lift morale. They restore pride and reject the poison of managed decline that the left spent years trying to make permanent. Who can ever forget all of the visuals of radical leftists tearing down our monuments? President Trump is showing the country that when leaders stop making excuses, things can be fixed, and fixed fast, on time, and under budget. See, that is a win for residents, it's a win for visitors, and it's a win for the idea of America itself. If you agree that our capital should reflect strength, beauty, and order, go ahead, hit share right now. Comment below and subscribe to Next News. And yes or no, answer me this. Should every major American city follow Trump's model and choose restoration over decline? Let's have a conversation. And let's stay connected too. I set up this number you see on your screen right there just for you, so that we can maintain connection when the algorithm or when notifications choose not to. All you got to do is text the words raw feed to 844-840-4963. Thousands of patriots have already joined this movement to stay connected, to get the news when it matters most to you. And since we're talking about America 250, take a look at the merch shelf below this video or at the link, and let's celebrate America 250 together.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now. You know out.